Crazy stuff. Hey, Karen. What do you think? Huh? Weird. Crazy stuff, huh? Look at this. Here's the natural spread. Here's the cards. Here's some weird charts. What the hell is this? You know? Really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Look at that. It's a calendar. Published by Torah Incorporated, Hollywood, California, 1946, 1947, by Edith Randall and Florence Campbell. Wow. So anyway, Love Triber just showed me this crazy book. It's really old. And you might have noticed when I was looking through the planets, there's no mention of Pluto. Hello Maria, hello Robin. Fascinating stuff. And this is all based around your, casino, Las Vegas playing cards, gambling cards. Anyway, it's just another way of looking at people. All sorts of mysteries. 52 cards, 52 weeks in the year, and so on. Love Triber knows a lot about this stuff in case anybody's interested. Anyway, let's go over, let's say hello. Good evening. It is Sunday night over here. It's the 18th of May, 2025. I thought I'd show up in case anybody needed a little mini reading or something. Live mini tarot readings. We do it by donation, of course, as everybody knows. I mentioned May the 18th is kind of a special day, but it's actually a few days before, and then on the 18th and a couple of days after, the Sun is conjoined with Uranus. So it's a very powerful alignment, right up at the high degrees, like 27 degrees, shining a very, very bright light on the world of global finance, global money, big, big, big money, and all the chaos and the revolution and the upheaval that is happening in that context. And so, because I felt it was so important, I decided to do a little video earlier today, and I just posted it on my other platform, RUMBLE, TarotLumination, on the other platform. So if anyone's interested, you can go there and see it. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about that stuff because I don't want to get in trouble. But just briefly, I think I'll be okay to talk about this. It's because it's affecting the whole world. The best analogy I can have, that I can think of right now, to describe what's happening across the world, especially because of what's happening with the Sun and Uranus right now, affecting global finances, which is affecting the whole world, everybody in America, China, Europe, Africa, Central, South Africa, Asia, everywhere. It's all being affected live right now as we speak. And it's about revolution, massive, chaotic, highly disruptive, perfectly divinely ordained revolution. The best analogy I can think of is this. Imagine a room, a big, very important, extremely impressive room, something like what you might have seen over the last week or so with Donald visiting the Middle East and being inside some of these huge, incredible buildings. Or maybe go inside the new ballroom that is going to be built by Donald over up in the White House. Anyway, it's a big, very, very beautiful, very impressive room, probably with pillars and gold and archways and very important looking statues and paintings and things like that. Now picture in the middle of this room there is a big round table. Okay, and around this table there's about 100 chairs with plenty of room between everybody, and each chair has a person representing another country. And on this big round table they're playing a very advanced form of Monopoly that covers the whole world, not just New York or London or Paris, but the whole world. Anyway, everybody's playing this game, and they've got their little, their castles, their houses, their little icons, and they're moving around the board. They're trying to make sure they get out of jail for free. They're trying to build their hotels on the most expensive, most valuable real estate across the world so that he who has the most wins. But of course, it's a very big, complicated game, so it's like there's never really a winner. It just keeps going on and on and on. I used to play Monopoly when I was a little kid, and over the holidays, sometimes the game would stretch on for days, literally days, and all of us kids would have to take a break. But we would just leave the board set there on a big table. Anyway, so there you go. Just imagine all of that going on. And it's been like that for years. And then somebody opens a big door at the side. And they walk right up to the table, to an empty chair, the only empty chair at the table. This person pulls back the chair, looks at everybody, doesn't say anything, steps up to the table while he's still standing, grabs the edge of the table and jerks it up. Bam! Like that. And just destroys the whole board game, all the little plastic pieces, all the hotels, all the cards, all the currencies, that just flies everywhere. That's what's happening right now. The person who tipped up the table is named Donald. So it's very disruptive, it's very chaotic, and it's frightening for some countries. But he's doing it for a reason and a purpose. Anyway, I just wanted to leave it at that. I hope you can imagine everything I just described. And if you want to, go visit my little thing on Rumble. And I'll try to explain it a little bit more. I don't really want to talk about it too much here. Some channels are totally blessed. They have millions of subscribers and they can talk about a lot of controversial stuff without being blocked, censored. They seem to be blessed. Whereas if I do that, then whatever tiny little remains I have of this channel over here on YouTube could be destroyed even further. It was earlier this year I had a complete shutdown for weeks just because of something I said. Anyway, I keep talking about all that stuff, but it's now over on the other platform because I can talk freely there. Anyway, hello Karen over there in New Zealand. I have to tell you, all day long I was thinking about New Zealand. In fact, I think about it every day. I was talking with my friend Love Triper today, talking about where in the world could you live that's really, really nice. And I didn't say it at the time. I was just thinking about places in America. But I've traveled a lot. I've lived a lot of different places. Africa, South America, Central America, England, America. And right now I'm over in sunny Las Vegas. And America is an incredible place. We just have pretty much everything here you could ever want and imagine. Plus we have the Constitution. But there's other things as well. And I have to tell you, I have a very, very, very big soft spot for New Zealand. Yeah. It's a very beautiful place. It has probably the cleanest air in the world. Maybe even better than Hawaii. Lovely people. They tend to be very polite, considerate, thoughtful. They're not too brash. They're not too brash like the Australians and like the Americans. We tend to be really out there and almost overly expressive. But the New Zealanders really they just kind of like to mind their own business, enjoy their beautiful country, and everyone else can just pretty much F off except for the tourists because they need tourists. And so when I was visiting there, I just fell in love with it because you're never more than 2 miles from the ocean. That's it. Not 2 miles, 2 hours. You can be near the ocean within 2 hours of anywhere. You have to have a car, obviously. New Zealand is full of mountains and trees and forests and lakes and rivers and thousands of beaches and little tiny beachfront villages and towns. They have three main cities, Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch. And they have other smaller cities, I think anyway, others. And I love the food. And when I used to drink alcohol, all the artisanal beers, all the artisanal foods, restaurants, cafes. It's the way that I believe America probably used to be before 1913. When America was just very wealthy with artisanal everything. Shoes, factories, manufacturing, farms, artisans of all kinds. What's this? Hold on, there's somebody here. What's it? Jay. Hello, Jay. Hey, can I ask a question? I'm confused and stressed about something. Yes, we all are. I did want to, Jay, what's going on? Yeah, so Jay, what I do here is I do these live mini tarot readings. I'm going to start shuffling. Okay, and actually, let me do that now. But no, hold on, let me try. I'm trying to be professional here. So usually it's done by donation, okay? So what most people do is they go on a device, they go over to TarotLumination.com, find the donate page, click the donate button, scroll down to the payment processor and choose debit, credit card, and just swipe a card like online shopping. And then it shows up here within moments. So it's really cool. Do not do super chat. Do not do super chat. It will never get here. YouTube will keep it all for themselves. Thank you. Anyway, hey, Necessary. Hey, Jay, also, by the way, if it's really kind of big deal, private and personal stuff, you can do private things over here as well. Again, it's the same thing. You can go over here, you can scroll around, learn about the website, you can write to me directly, personally. If you want to do a combination of astrology and tarot, we can do that, and so on. And we can do deep dives, and so on. But anyway, just thanks for hanging out, Jay. So anyway, this is what it looks like for folks who are not used to this stuff. Let's go over here. Let's get a deck. Okay, I'm going to use the Universal Golden. Okay, this is just your average typical tarot deck based around the Rider-Waite deck and the Pamela Coleman Smith artistry. Yes, Karen, of course you can. Thank you very much. Thank you for setting the standard, showing everybody how it all works. A lot of us know each other here because we've been doing this for years, 7 or 8 years now. Hello, Robin. And for people who are watching, Robin is a reader herself. Necessary Truth is a psychic medium herself. Love Triber is a reader herself, and so on. A lot of it is about healing. A lot of these readings and services are more about healing than, you know, the mystery of the cards and the astrology and the tarot itself, because ultimately it's about trying to heal things that confound other types of healing mechanisms, like maybe you can't find the right doctor or therapist or counselor or something to talk to. And so you end up at a place like this, TarotLumination, and you start to get these spooky, mysterious tarot readings and the mythology of astrology and so on. Anyway, you know what? I'm going to shuffle up here. So give me a few moments and let's just dive in. Rather than me trying to explain it all, we're just going to dive straight in and do a reading for Karen. She's already paid up and everything, so it's easy peasy. Let's have a look over here. All right, Karen. I hope life is treating you well over there in beautiful New Zealand. Okay. Chatham. Maybe I'll just do this. Give me a second. Hold on. Okie dokie. Hi, Karen. We're pretty much ready to roll here. Hello, newbies, all these folks. Esmil, Jody. Jody, have we met before? I lose track. So Karen, it says here, you're doing well. Work is very busy. That's fantastic. So everybody, in case you don't know, Karen is a very gifted artist, like artisanal artist type. She's very involved with the New Zealand art culture, and she's part of the exhibitions. I think they happen every year where there's art tours around different parts of New Zealand, and she is part of that. And she also represents traditional indigenous Maori art, some of it to do with basket weaving, very elaborate, beautiful basket weaving, okay? Jody is trite flower. Water dragon. Hey, I believe you just sent a donation. Was that you? Did you just send a donation? What am I? I'm just checking the chat here while we're getting ready to do a reading for Karen. Karen says, no, Robin says you're driving and listening. Oh, Robin, okay. Just listen. Don't do anything visual. Put the phone way over to the side. So, Jody, are you? Yeah. Okay. I saw it. Already came in. And I haven't had a chance to reply yet, so thank you very much. I guess you're looking for a little mini reading. I could do a little mini reading for you, like we do. Okay. All right. People have so many names. It's crazy. Anyway, rather than me let me do a brief introduction for folks who we're not used to this stuff. Anyway, I've been doing this for years. I've done thousands of readings. I use my own 3 custom-built spreads. Oh, okay. All right, well, we're just going to have fun then. Okay. So the little spread that I use for the live mini readings, it's very simple, but it's really effective. It's basically a diagnostic. Thank you, Jody. It's like a diagnostic tool for when let's say you have a car and it's not running well and the engine light's flashing. No. And you feel very uncomfortable. So you go to an auto tech place and for free, they plug in the little black box and they tell you what's wrong with your car. And now you know what the problem is. You can fix it. And that's when it costs money to fix cars. Anyway, you got to reveal it to heal it. You can't fix it unless you know what the problem is. You have to know what the problem is. So that's all we're doing with these mini readings. So we're going to dive right in now. Keep it very, very simple. By the way, before we do that, let me just do a quick little astrology thing as a reference point, okay? So this is for everybody. This is for the whole world. I made this chart earlier this evening when I was doing my other show on the other platform. We still have a lot of ambiguity regarding war all across the world. A lot of confusion in the warmongers between themselves and each other. And over here, some people are trying to figure it out through humble negotiations. And it's proving to be very, very, very difficult. Anyway, this is for tonight. I'm not going to dive on it because I just did it on the other show. But it's a very significant time period right now because we have multiple crises points here and here and here. And they're building up, okay? So it's a lot of pressure. A lot of people, of course, have no awareness, no clue. They don't even care. But some people are very sensitive to all this stuff and they feel things, but they don't necessarily know what it is. Well, when I do these astrology reports, it's a way to help people understand and assimilate what's actually going on so you don't think you're losing your mind. It's actually just nature being its self. Okay. All right, Karen, you're up. Here we go. Gosh, we got all these readers here tonight. It's great. Anyway, you know the routine. Cards are already shut. I don't do any jumpers or flyers or reversals, and I'm not doing any oracles tonight or anything like that. Maybe I'll one day get back to the free mini oracles, but for now, let's see what happens. Love Triber, this is a question. When does a chart show love across the world? When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars? Is that something out of a pop song? I can't remember. All right, Karen, what kind of messages do we have here tonight for Karen regarding her life, her world, and everything over there in beautiful New Zealand? Okay, so here we are, just for reference. There's our beautiful world. This is our home, folks. This is where we live. I'm broadcasting from over here. Necessary is over here. Robin is over here. Karen is over here. Amazing. Let's see who else. I've lost it. I can't see all the chat at once, so there might be others I forgot. But anyway, no harm intended. All right, let's make sure everything's good. I want to make sure the deck is clear and upright. Let me do a last minute shuffle and then we'll go for it. The Age of Aquarius. Oh my gosh. When does a chart show love across the world? Love across the world, I would say it would show up with, I'm not talking about, I would say the 5th dimension. Wow. Love across the world. Well, I like the idea, the 7th house of relationships where everybody has to love everybody. I think for the whole world, I'd rather see something up here in the 11th house. I'd love to see a beautiful, powerful, harmonious alignment. For example, to have it right now, I'd love to see something beautiful with Pluto. And we kind of have that. We have this beautiful, well, it's kind of flimsy, this green triangle here. The trine and the sextile, it's very wobbly. It's not really solid. Like, this is very unambiguous. This is very ambiguous here. But what I would love to see for love across the world would be something like when Venus, let's say Venus is here, and it takes about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 11 months from now, maybe, Venus will be in Aquarius conjoined with Pluto, something like that. So what I would look for ideally is Pluto conjoined Venus up here in Aquarius in the 11th house, and Mars would be somewhere that's very harmonious, like a sextile or a trine. So it would be the least likelihood to have war, because when Mars and Venus are in harmony together, it smooths things out a lot. It makes it a lot more comfortable to have love. You know, there's usually someone who's chasing someone, and then there's the one who's being chased. But in the world global context, it's all about everybody with each other. I'm not talking about a mass orgy. It's more about like the campfire analogy. Well, we have Venus trine Mars right now. So despite all the really scary things going on, Venus trine Mars is a very sweet alignment. It's happening right now. It's very green. It's very bright. Since you asked, that's this over here. Okay, Venus in Aries, trined with Mars in Leo. Venus and Mars, you've read those books probably. Venus, female, love, the reception of love. Mars, male energy, the provider of love, okay? But it goes both ways because men and women have a bit of both. Anyway, I don't think there is one universal sign for universal love. It's up to us, like, because there's lots of bad things happening at the same time that good things are happening. In many ways, there is a tremendous amount of love in the world right now, and it's being spread around like manure by people, I see it, who are very patriotic in this sort of context, because they love America, they love their home, they love their family, they want America to be awesome, and so they've aligned in this large movement, which is making this place where I live better. But it's a long road, because the country where I live, it's suffered a lot of damage over the last 40 to 60 years, and you can't fix that in a matter of weeks or months. Anyway, it takes a lot of love to do with a lot of the fixing and healing that's happening live right now. All right, Karen, let's have a look. Here we go. Enough of the lively banter. Let's get on with your reading, Karen. What kind of messages do we have here for Karen tonight? Well, it's Sunday night over here, but Karen, you're already in Monday morning or Monday lunchtime. Cards are very nicely shuffled. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, everybody, invite your invisible friends, gather around, make the most of it, just to amplify the potential of a good reading. Let's have a look. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things. And let's have a look at external influences. Usually I defer to the astrology, but you never know. Okay, so we have the Eight of Pentacles here. Well, that corresponds very vividly with what you just mentioned. Okay, so things are doing well for you. I think this is basically a reflection and a reminder that you're probably about as tuned in with yourself as you possibly can be. You're a natural entrepreneur, you're a natural artist, you're a natural artisan, you're a natural business person, okay? And you've obviously figured out that it's worth continuing to invest in yourself. In other words, love thyself, which happens to resonate very, very beautifully with Venus and Aries right now. Very, very nice thing. No matter what your astrology is, we're not talking about your personal astrology, I'm just talking about what's happening in the heavens right now. So my feeling is that the heavens really kind of have your back right now. So it's almost like messages like, whatever you're doing, Karen, just keep doing it. However you're doing it, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, because obviously something is working here for you in your life, in your world. Your value, your values, your belief systems that contribute to the values are adding up to the point where it's like being recognized, okay? Like you said earlier, well, let me go, where's your, I have to go scroll back in the chat. Hold on, give me a second. Where were your notes? Way up here, okay. Okay, here we go. It says right here in your notes. Yes, you're well. Work is very, very, very busy. You are investing in yourself. I have a new collaborative exhibition opening up next month, and I'm finally getting some recognition for my work. Not just your work, your talents, your gifts, your resources. Okay? It might be an unusual way to look at things, but with the Sun conjoined Uranus right here, this is very much to do with a new perspective, new look, radical perspective of your values, the things that you value, the things that you have of great value, not like your natural talents, gifts, and resources. And the Sun is lighting it up for you. You're seeing it and feeling it in real life, okay? So that's a very good thing. I'm happy for you. What's the situation here? Let's have a look. Okay, more and more pentacles. We've got the pentacles here. So my feeling is that with the Two of Pentacles, it's becoming very clear that your talents, your gifts, your resources, your values, your valuables, like your artisanal gifts and everything, are truly being recognized, and it's worth investing for the long term. But what that means over the short term is that you're going to have to be more diligent and more careful than ever before to balance the books properly in such a way that you are favored. In other words, you award yourself as most favored nation or most favored person in your own life. Because ultimately, with Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries coming up, all of that stuff, it's going to be a very difficult balancing act. Saturn and Neptune together like that, they could easily counteract each other and undermine each other. So you have to stay on top of it. So I have a feeling you would be like that anyway. But it might be challenging, because the worst thing you could do is let's just say you start doing really well, and you start getting drunk and dizzy with your own awesomeness, and you start getting sloppy and lazy with your books and your finance and your accounting. That could really throw things off. Just one little tiny error could just throw things off. So you have to be very, very, very careful. Continue to invest wisely. In fact, more than ever before, so that the momentum that you've now built up for years is starting to coalesce and mean something. And it's obvious to other people because it's showing up in terms of money and success and so on. But it's very, very delicate. It's just like any business, especially if it's like a newer type of blossoming business. Even you have a lifetime of being an artisan. What this is indicating is that you're starting a new chapter now where things are much more, let's say, in alignment with your best outcomes. So it's like having a brand new business, at which point it's like very fragile. Imagine a potted plant, newly just sprouting off the ground, and it's, you've been fertilizing and planting for years, got the right balance of nutrients and water and sunshine, fertilizer and everything. But the new little sprout is still very, very fragile. You still have to be very careful, very fragile, to get to the point where there is much deeper long-term strength and stability. So you can like grow a tree of abundance rather than a sprout, okay? All right, what are the challenges here? Let's have a look. Well, okay, so we've got the Six of Cups, okay? It makes me feel that it's almost like you wish you had the right sort of mate or partner in such a way where where everything that I just described to you would be just common sense. And it would be so obvious that you might have a teammate or a business partner where you wouldn't feel so much on your own having to be a sole entrepreneur. What do they call it? Like a business owner. Not only that, it would be nice to have someone that you could trust because of previous experience of having trusted someone and someone having trusted you. And maybe that would resonate or feel to you like someone from a past life would just show up magically and just in the very beautiful kind of Neptunian mysterious manner would end up as a benevolent mate, a benevolent partner for you. But with the card in this position, it makes me feel that it's not quite there, and you wish that it was, and it would be so nice if it could be, where it's almost like you could share your bounty, your good fortune, your talents and gifts in such a way that it's mutually beneficial, rather than perhaps other people being dependent on you, or other people looking to you to be a provider, for example. It would be so nice to have someone who would be like a fully functional mate in a way that's the, I'm not going to say idealized, which would be the Neptune vibe, but something that would be based on something that you already know works from the past. In other words, in past lives, or maybe when you were much younger, you had the experience of what it's really like to be loving and be loved, and you know what that's like. You know how valuable it is. And like when people get married, for example, it's a very big life-changing decision for most people. And if you just casually get married and you end up realizing, oh my God, what was I thinking? That can be a real problem. And marriage ends up being the worst decision you could have ever made. For some people, it's kind of in between. For some people, it's the best decision they've ever made in life, and you get this mutually supportive relationship. I love you, you love me, we love each other, and everything is conducted through the relationship itself rather than what can I get out of you, like exploitive type relationships. It makes me feel as though it's like I wish I could have some of that nice stuff. Maybe you've got something like that already, but it would be so nice to have like an anchor, okay? Like maybe you could go on, like at the end of a really hard, challenging day, where you could go home and be embraced. Even if you're working as a team, you could be embraced and like, wow, that was a great day. God, and you celebrate each other, enjoy each other's company, even if you're exhausted, fed up, or whatever. Anyway, let's keep going, because this is still kind of a sweet reading. Okay, so we've got Judgment here. This is really, to me, like a breath of fresh air. I don't know if you're sensing this in your life at the very moment, Karen, but maybe coming down the road, you might feel as though you've reached a kind of a threshold in your life where it's something you might have either wished for or imagined, or you've heard that exists, where these threshold moments occur, like these epiphanies or these awakenings occur. And it might happen at a very deep, profound level inside of you, Karen, where you realize, oh, I mean, it's a very big, powerful card. It's one of the major arcana. And it's very much about liberty and freedom. And what I'm sensing here is that this is very much about you sensing liberty and freedom for yourself. And that, lo and behold, none of this was granted to you. No one gave you, nobody liberated you. Nobody was going to come along and save you. You've liberated yourself. You've saved yourself. Even though it might not be perfect, the way things are going, the way you would love them to go, you still have something really, really awesome on a global scale. To be a successful artisan and to be recognized and have a business, that's to me, that's awesome. That's something that I always aspired to in my own life. I never really fully attained. But anyway, so with this, it makes me feel like it's very important that you have to understand the bigger picture of Karen Clark, where it's like, it's great to be recognized. It's great to see, the business going, and that's, staying busy and everything like that. But the bigger picture is that you've actually liberated yourself from self-defeating, self-limiting behaviors, thought patterns, expectations, habits, and just circumstantial stuff that was either choking you or holding you back or undermining you in such a way that it's just very frustrating. How am I ever going to get on? And then you sort of wake up in the morning and you realize, wait a minute, I'm actually free. I'm about as free as it's possible for a human to be. And I made that happen. I liberated myself. I am my own liberator. This is freedom. Total freedom that you created for yourself. Removing yourself somehow or other through good intent, work, ambition, talent, and recognition. You have freed yourself from a lot of the constrictions and limitations of a three-dimensional life. So to me, I'm very happy for you when I see this reading. I hope that helps, Karen. I hope that encourages you and makes you realize how awesome you really are, in case you don't give yourself a break as much as you should. All right. I am going to move on very quickly. Okay, let's clear this up. I'm going to check up to see if there's anybody who's put some money in the pot, and if we're going to do another reading. Let me see. Let me go. Okay, just hang there for a minute. I'm going to double check a couple of things. Hey, thank you, Jody. You are a treasure trove of knowledge. I don't know much about names. Karen means clear or pure. Well, there you go. All right, let's have a look. I'm just going to check a couple things in the chat here. So I'm just going to hang for a few minutes in case another donation comes through, but otherwise we might be just have a very short, quiet evening here, and we'll all move on with our lives until next week or something. Let me just put this out here again. If anybody wants a mini reading like right now, just go to TarotLumination.com, another tab, another page, another device or something. Go to the donate page, click the donate button. It opens up a payment processor. Scroll down and do the debit credit card like online shopping, and kapoof, there you go. If you're a millionaire, put in lots of money. If you don't have a lot of money, don't put in too much money. But anyway, that's sort of how it works. And then And then basically you get a mini reading, and visually it looks very much like we just did with Karen. Situational spread. Some people like to ask very specific questions. Some people ask questions that really can't be answered. It's important how you phrase a question when you do this stuff. If you're asking questions that demand a yes or no answer, I can't really help, because I'm not a fortune teller, okay? Sometimes it's easier just to do a complete blind reading and trust in the great beyond, trust your archangels and angels and visible friends to guide you in and around and through the reading. Sometimes if somebody has a real issue on their mind, it might be more appropriate to say, here's how I would do it. I would say, hey, TarotLumination, what messages do you have here for me tonight regarding the subject of family? Like one word. Or destiny, or whatever it is, money, or marriage, or love, or divorce, or depression, or just like a single word. It makes it work much, much better. That's just some tips for the future for anybody who wants readings. What's that? Jody's a master of all trades, jack of all trades, master of none. I can relate to that. There's all sorts of things I've done. I've had so many different jobs. So many different jobs. I'm not an expert at anything. There's a couple of things at which I'm extremely good, where I had a chance to make a lot of money and be very, very successful. But those things didn't work out because those things came with some very ugly terms and conditions, so it kind of never happened. Anyway, that's how it all works. Alright, I think I'm just going to wrap it up. It seems to be very quiet here tonight. We come and go for a reason, and God willing we'll be here next Sunday. If somebody wants to get in touch with me during the week, you can do that. Just go to the TarotLumination.com, the contact page, and that happens where we do private personal readings. And it's very similar to what we're doing here. I would be with you in a private Zoom recording session, and we would record the whole thing, maybe some astrology, maybe some tarot readings and stuff like that. And then it would all be recorded and returned to you as a file. It's usually a big file, takes a long time to upload to my storage, then it has to process. Okay, Jay, you were here earlier. What's up, Jay? I don't know if I can help. Every now and again I used to do free readings, because I used to do marathon shows for like 5 hours at a time, and I would have dozens, if not 100, I would have a very large, lively crowd, at least for my channel. I'm used to having very tiny audiences, but I think of us as like a little boutique operation, so I don't care too much. But in the glory days, there would be a lot of people, and I would end up doing 5, 6, or 7 readings in one night, all with donations, and there'd still be 10 or 15 people left over who still want readings. And sometimes somebody would put in like a master donation and say, hey, just spread this around with some of the folks and just do a single oracle card, something like that. Also, I used to do lucky draws. Does anybody remember that? I don't do them anymore because YouTube shut me down, and the Ticketmaster people, the Eventbrite people, they shut me down because they said I was running an illegal lottery. Anyway, what can you do? Alright, I'm going to leave it at that. Good night, everybody. It's been a pleasure. I'm sorry for all the people who would love to have freebies. But anyway, I'm still here. Take care, everybody. Look after yourselves as best you can. Remember, you're number one. Protect your money, protect your privacy, protect yourself. Be loving, be loved. These are really simple forms.